Hi, welcome to the Finnish Football Show. We're recording this on Sunday, the 13th of June, the day after Finland played against Denmark, their opening game of Euro 2020. And of course, everything has been coloured by what happened to Christian Eriksen, the Danish player, on the field during the game yesterday. We don't want to ignore the fact of what went on. It's Sunday lunchtime here in Finland, so there's not that much news come about how things have progressed for him. All we know really is from what came through last night that he was resuscitated on the pitch. He was taken to hospital and was awake and was undergoing further tests. But anything else that we could add to that is really just speculation. So we thought we'd acknowledge it now at the start, and and then kind of carry on with talking about the match. So with that in mind, let's hear the music and then introduce who's with me today. So we're back with the Finnish Football Show, and I'm joined for this section of the show anyway by Rich Nelson. Hi, Rich.
Hello.
And by Keke. Hi, Keke.
Hello.
The fourth musketeer is currently making his way back from Copenhagen to Finland, so I'm going to speak to him a little bit later. You lucky podcast listener won't have to wait a couple of hours. As soon as I finish speaking with these two, you'll hear from Mark. The marvels of modern technology. I'll stitch it all together and you might only just about see the join. Rich, Keke, it's difficult really to know where to start. Let's talk about first of all, where you two were watching the game.
So we went to the Nordic bar in central London yesterday. So it was sort of nice atmosphere of far more Danish fans than Finns in there, but it was interesting. I think we got there about just after half time of the Wales-Switzerland game, so a chance to sort of get ourselves settled in. We ended up moving, I think, 3 times over the course of the evening due to bookings and so on and so forth. But it was not a bad place to watch a game, and obviously with what happened, being in a pub or bar was a strange experience, but it was. There was a friendly rivalry going on. There was no beef, and everyone got on for the most part very well.
And you guys were together, right?
Yeah.
It was good fun. It was like, obviously, with the disappointment of not actually making it out there to Copenhagen, it was nice that me and Rich were able to meet up, and as he said, it was nice to go somewhere where you knew there was going to be some other sort of fans, whether they be Danish fans or Finnish fans. As Rich said, it worked out. There was a bit of both, but we were slightly outnumbered by the Danes. But as Rich said as well, it was the strange bit was when the incident happened. It was the pub, the whole pub just sort of fell into silence. But it was we. As we all know, the game kicked off again, and everybody sort of got back to it, watching it. A little bit of a sore head this morning, but it was nice. It was a good atmosphere, a decent atmosphere in there.
I myself was in a bar here in Seinäjoki. I was hoping to go to the town centre. One of the bars there put up a big screen outdoors, but it rained almost solidly yesterday. And during the game, it came down so hard. I mean, like biblical proportions. Today is a beautiful day again. And it's going to be a nice day to watch the games that are there today. But I think it meant that everyone stayed indoors yesterday. And I didn't get the opportunity to be with too many Finns. There were, the pub had about 20 or 30 people in there watching maybe. But I guess there wasn't that much really to get them too excited in the first half. So there wasn't so much atmosphere going on. Rich, do you want to talk a little bit about actually how the gameplay went? I'm sure that's kind of what people would be wanting to hear from us. We've been talking about how Finland might approach this for the last few weeks. How did you see the game itself?
Well, it seemed like a slightly more positive lineup from the manager than we were kind of expecting. I think he played Robin Lod in the three in midfield and then Pukki and Pohjanpalo up front, which is an attacking lineup as far as he's concerned. I think whether he looked at their tactics and thought, that would work. Sparv looked good. He looked fit, looked healthy. Obviously raring to go. So perhaps he thought he didn't need an extra runner if he had someone with a little bit of guile in midfield. Obviously, it's done the rounds that Finland scored their goal from one shot, and I think are the only team, or the first in a long time, to win a game with only one shot on goal. But it was a strange kind of thing, because obviously Denmark at home, they were stronger, but Finland resisted them well. I think Denmark was certainly the superior team in possession and with the territory, but Finland didn't look overly troubled. I mean, Hradecky had the game of his life. He was absolutely fantastic from beginning to end. Everyone played well, solid. There weren't really any clear-cut chances for Denmark. They had a lot of the ball, sort of 20, 25 yards out, and didn't really do an awful lot with it. So as game plans go, it's essentially two different games we're talking about here. But, for that first 41 minutes, if that had been the way the game played out, and then Finland would have got a chance at some point. Sorry.
No, it's fine. Sorry, Rich. I was just putting my hand up to say I'd like to go next.
Oh, sorry.
because I thought we looked a little bit jittery at the start. I mean, completely understandably, I was sitting in the pub and I was feeling jittery. So I felt like it looked like Luke kind of fumbled, parried a couple of things at the beginning, and that didn't do anything for my nerves. And I wonder if that's perhaps how the whole team were feeling. There was this onslaught, like you say, with possession, and that was also what we expected. I wasn't surprised that at one stage the stats came up that Finland had less than 40%. That's what I expected, and but I felt as we got maybe like the first quarter, I felt we were on the back foot and we were coping, and then the second quarter of the game, it felt like we were starting to get back into it a little bit.
Yeah, there was. I mean, there were nerves, and I think it's a tournament, and this is new to, and probably a lot of the Danes hadn't played in a tournament as well. And I think there was a bit of that kind of distance poking and kind of measuring each other up. But I mean, Finland did grow into it, and I mean, I think we kind of expected that Denmark would have a lot of control of the game. But and when the second half got underway, obviously things were slightly different. But I mean, Denmark was still, I suppose, the dominant team. It was hard to kind of gauge really what was going on, and Finland's goal, 10 players touched the ball in the build-up, so everyone except O'Shaughnessy was involved. It was, I mean, it went from goalkeeper all the way up top, and it was a really nice move. I mean, it looks so simple when you look at it on the replay and from the different angles, but that required everyone doing their job, getting in the right position, dragging the play out wide, and there was space, particularly for Sparv's ball to Uranen before he played it into Pukki. It was it looked like everything was working really nicely, and yeah, it was. I mean, it was a lovely goal. Pohjanpalo, one of his strengths, he's getting in, he's quite direct, he's bigger than Pukki, so, and he got on the end of the cross, and there's a couple of pictures doing the rounds of as Pukki took the ball from Uranen from the first ball into the box, and he was surrounded by Denmark defenders. And I've seen some memes, that picture of Maradona when he's surrounded by Belgians, obviously completely debunked by the fact that was from a free kick and they were a defensive wall, but this was Pukki surrounded by everyone. He had 4 or 5 players within a couple of yards. Shows how tightly marked he was. But yeah, I mean, it was a lovely goal, and that ended up winning the game. And we're looking back at it now as almost a tactical masterclass, which I think it's difficult to plan for these things, but when they come off, it looks really good.
Yeah, I think if we were going to win the game, it would have always been, even without the incident, it would have always panned out like that. I mean, as you said, Radetzky was absolutely inspired. I've got to agree with Mark. I even commented to you, Rich, in the pub there. There was a couple of times where Luque chose to parry, where from my point of view, I was thinking, oh, why didn't he catch it? Do you know what I mean? But yeah, he was. I don't think anyone was getting past him yesterday. Paulus Arayuri again was absolutely rock solid. So he had a great game. But I think, even as I said, even without the incident, I think if we were going to win that game, it would have always been sort of like that, sort of nicking it, despite their obvious lion's share of the possession. We've sort of done them with a quick move that's gone through the team and nicked the goal and come away with a win. And without trying to sound too somber about what happened to poor old Christian Eriksen, I mean, 3 points is on the board. So obviously it's a weird one. Poyampala didn't really celebrate the goal, the first ever goal in the country's history at a major tournament, and he can't really celebrate it too much because of obviously what happened. But yeah, the UEFA rules are that the game's got to carry on, and Finland have come away with a win.
Yeah, I think that feeling of not being too sure how to react to the whole thing. The game, when the game stopped, I was in the bar still, and then it kind of looked like it wasn't going to happen. So everyone sort of went home, and then I was at home when the news came from one of the many WhatsApp chats that were going on at the time saying that they're restarting it. And I sat down to watch thinking, this is kind of surreal. Am I allowed to enjoy this? And then the goal went in and we really cheered. And I thought, well, if it went against us, I'm sure that the other team would be cheering. And also, like, all the players on the pitch have witnessed the same thing. It means more to the Danes because he's their friend rather than like a football colleague, as it would be for the Finnish players on the pitch. But it's going to have affected all of them. I'm sure most of them probably didn't want to play if they'd had a chance. So it's, in a way, it's kind of level playing field again in the second half to a degree anyway. And I think that probably we didn't see the best of Finland. I think we saw flashes towards the end of that attacking play that we've grown to see. There was this really nice one-touch football that was carving through down the wings, as we talked about in the preview show. But there were only flashes of it, and then the few sort of bits and pieces of reports I've heard are like, yeah, Finland didn't do much. They scored with their only chance, and they mostly defended and cleared the ball long. And it's like, okay, that's really it's really like not reading the context of the game and how those players will have been affected, as well as not seeing those few little like sort of shoots of what they're capable of, and what I hope we see some more of against Russia during the week.
Yeah, I think that's lazy journalism, really. Like just sort of taking that and saying that's what happened. I mean, obviously we watch a lot of the Finland team, so we know what they're capable of, and B, we sort of know what to expect. But yeah, I think there were flashes of it, and as you said, Mark, the longer the game went on, I'm not saying they all forgot what had happened, but the longer they both sides grew into the game, sort of as the minutes ticked past. I mean, first half, I thought the first 5 minutes, I actually thought we did okay. We sort of probed into their half a bit, and then after that, it was sort of they were fully camped in our half. But as I said earlier, that's kind of what I expected. I always thought if we were going to win it, that's how it would have gone. So,
and Rich, after the goal on the hour, that wasn't the last bit of drama in the match.
Well, no, I mean it's almost like Radetzky playing well, had his standout moment, that penalty save. It's one of those things, you know. I mean, you say as a Wimbledon fan, it was a bit like the '88 Cup final. You know, Finland went ahead against a team superior to them, and then saved the penalty as well. It's a kind of strange result, really, when you look, because obviously at the end of the day, the history books will just say that Finland won 1-0. What this result is worth in the short, medium, and long term is massive. Not only is it 3 points on the board in your first game, we've got Russia to come, who were, from what I saw of the game, I didn't watch it all, toilet against Belgium, and they have trouble. They have a lot of problems. How that game will pan out, again, it's a whole different ball game. You know, we're talking a few days away, and yet, but Finland we're going to go into that with so much confidence. Obviously, Russia will have a point to prove being at home. You know, that they've got to get a result to stay in the competition. Finland know that, to be honest, a draw will almost certainly qualify them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to be honest, we were at the point where 3 points might, who knows, the way this works out. And going forward, a win against a far superior team in sort of on paper in the FIFA rankings points and everything like that. I know we do like a coefficient here, but that one win is worth probably more than the Nations League campaign in its entirety.
Good point. Good point.
So again, going forward, that'll bump Finland up the FIFA rankings a fair bit. So that when the draw for the next Euros comes round, I don't know when that's going to be, maybe in the next 12 to 18 months. That's something that they'll think, you know, they're entrenched now in pot 3 and possibly looking higher. So what that game means is just so much more than just that 90 minutes.
I sort of thought before the competition started that Finland should sort of be looking first to get their first goal, then their first point, then their first win. Wasn't necessarily expecting that to happen in the first game, if I'm completely honest, but that was and I don't know. They earned it. They earned the win. It's beyond what I really. Well, actually, it's not completely beyond what I thought, because I think if I can refer back to our pre-match predictions, I was the only one that wrote 1-0 down in their prediction. Although I then said, but it's probably 1-1. But the words, the numbers 1 and 0 together are in my prediction, so I'm having half a point for that.
Oh, sorry, go.
I mean, I think when the dust has settled on this, and we know that obviously you can't take away from the fact that what happened to Christian Eriksen, and when we know that he's okay and stable and all that, I think when the dust has settled, the Danes might look back on this game and say, you know, if that terrible incident hadn't have occurred, then the game might have panned out differently. But yeah, at the risk of repeating myself, I think, you know, it's if we, as I say, if we were going to win, it would always be like this. And I don't necessarily feel that, you know, that incident should overshadow too much the fact that we've come away with a win there. Obviously, we hope that Christian Eriksen's completely okay, but yeah, you know, it's that they decided to restart the game, and we've come away winning it. So you know, I understand that the celebrations are going to be low key, and we can't go bananas about it because of what happened. But I think that Finland team, and especially the manager and the players, especially Radetzky, can look at themselves and be rightly proud of themselves of what they've achieved yesterday.
I think a lot of us was kind of saying where the result would come from, and I think everyone was kind of writing off the Belgium game as, oh, it's Belgium, you know, let's not worry about that. And I think people were thinking, well, if we can get a point off Denmark and, you know, something off Russia. And I mean, I think in most of the previews I've done, I thought Finland's best chance would be against Russia. I still do. After yesterday, I think this is what it's going to do. And hopefully in the build up to the Russia game, we can then move on and think, right, we're starting again. There's 3 points on the board, but we just go, we try and put behind us what happened at the stadium yesterday, and just go, right, this is where we can secure qualification. A point will almost certainly guarantee it, because it will knock Russia out. And plus Denmark still have to play Russia as well. So it's just such an opportunity now. After what happened, I can't see. Again, I'd be interested to see if Keke makes any changes. That team,
Well,
while
that's a
being
good
on
point,
this,
Rich. Would you like to see any changes?
I probably not, to be honest. I think that there's always the option. You can make one substitution and change that. You could bring on Keke. You could change that kind of third midfielder, or you take Boyan Palo off. If you want to go back to that more defensive setup we saw in the qualifiers, the World Cup qualifiers. So there's a lot of scope there to change things, but I think he's obviously gone to this game with Denmark with a slightly more attacking lineup than we've seen. Obviously, having everyone fully fit and available makes that a lot easier. But I think, why not? I mean, if they go into that game with the same mindset, Russia will have to come and attack, which, to be honest, will probably help. I think it will help Finland if that's the case. I wouldn't change that 11 that started on Saturday, because there's so much opportunity to change it if needed.
And Keke, the reports of the demise of Captain Tim Sparv seem to have been grossly exaggerated. I think it was at half time, he had covered the most ground of the whole Finnish team and was looking on it.
Yeah, I mean, that some of us were a bit worried about match fitness quietly. Obviously didn't shout too much about it, but as he hadn't played much football, but the rest seems to have done him the world of good. So he obviously underwent surgery recently as well, but that didn't seem to hold him back. He was like a dog with a bone. He was all over it. So and it's what we know that we can expect from Tim. Do you know what I mean? He's wears his heart on his sleeve. He's tenacious, and it was not really surprising for me, to be honest, to see that performance from him. I think to a man, they all played well. Glenn Kamara, he looked a little bit nervous at points, but yeah, he grew into the game as well, and was started to look a bit more comfortable on the ball after the first few opening exchanges, and I think they all played well, to be honest. A lot of the kudos obviously has to go to the goalie and the defence, but yeah, across the pitch, I think they can be rightly pleased with themselves.
I think the one thing I'd like to see from the team in the next game is just the ball seemed to go through the midfield really quickly, a bit too quickly, almost a bit too rushed, and maybe to see all of them, no, not singling anyone out, just have an extra touch and just calm it down a little bit. It looked a little bit frantic, even in the second half, and I'd like to see him get the ball down and try and play, and let's try and play that closer 1 and 2 touch football that we know we can do. But other than that, I think we of course we're proud and we're allowed to be happy about this. If you're listening to this, then enjoy it. We should enjoy it. Do either of you have anything else to say, or should we head over to hear from our roving reporter Mark Hayton, who's on his way back from Copenhagen?
I think Mark will obviously be able to give us more of a insight into how the feeling and the atmosphere was in the stadium, and I'm obviously looking forward to hear that. But just one final word for the fans. Just before the restart, when it was a absolutely fantastic touch when the Finland fans were all screaming out Christian, and the Danish fans were replying with Eriksen. I think I don't think there was not an ounce of bad blood between those two sets of supporters. I think this it could even go some way to if there wasn't already a sort of friendship forged between our Nordic neighbours, it could go some way to making sure that that's the case. But yeah, Mark will be able to tell us a bit more about how the feeling was inside the ground.
Okay, let's go and speak to Mark now. And here he is, the man in question, Mark Hayton. Hello. You're over there you're in Copenhagen Airport at the moment.
Yeah, in Copenhagen Airport right now, heading back to sunny, beautiful Finland.
Well, it's sunny and beautiful today, but yesterday in Seinäjoki, as I've just explained to the others, it was hammering down. It was biblical proportions, which kind of killed the outdoor festival vibe of watching the football with a bunch of Finns. But we talked about the game with Rich and Keke. So, you know, you're here now, you're on your way back from traveling there. How's it been? Give us a little bit of colour of what you've experienced.
Well, it's been a whirlwind, that's for sure. It's not one that anybody's going to forget anytime soon. Very eventful in that sense. I've got to say the Danes and the Danish people in Copenhagen as a city has been really welcoming. We've had tons of fun. Before the game, it was quite common to see bars packed with both sets of fans. So there was the Finns obviously had base camp in the old Irish pub, and Danes had a couple of base camps because there's different groups. But there's been no trouble. You know, like no argy bargy, none of the bad side of football fandom. And everywhere that we've been, every time that we talked to the Danes pre-game or the day before, they were all looking forward to it. They were all really confident. But when I asked like every fan, okay, who's going to score your goals? They all had that same sort of quizzical look on their face, like we think we'll win, yeah, but we're not sure exactly how we're going to do it. Probably we'll make it like a set piece or a penalty or something. And we said, okay, I think we've got a chance in the game. But the Danes themselves, fantastic hosts, fantastic fans, great people.
I love Copenhagen. I've been lucky enough to go there several times for work. I've got a couple of guys that I used to work with 20 odd years ago that are still there, and whenever I've been over there, they kind of look after me. So it is one of my favourite cities for sure.
They do, and I think even before the game we were asking, all right, so we think we've got a shot at nicking, so we'll probably knock out a dirty win. What's it like? What's the atmosphere likely to be if we do that? And the guy said it'll be the same. Like we don't like. There's no love. Like they love Finland fans over here. There's a big affinity for us. And after the game, it panned out that way. You know, we were all arm in arm, jollying around, a little bit of argy-bargy and pointed humour, but nothing serious. And everybody just so happy and relaxed, particularly after the events of the game.
Yeah, you say that you had sort of lots of fun. What anything that you can either repeat or remember?
Memory is a tricky thing. I mean, I think this whole town. So I think that it's true that Copenhagen only changed its COVID restrictions about a day ago or 2 days ago. So it's only been a couple of days when the rest of Copenhagen has opened up, so to speak, to bars and restaurants. And when most of us got here, it was Friday night, so all the bars were packed in every part of Copenhagen, and we had a brilliant party night on the Friday. We had some discussions on the Saturday about the police guidance was not to gather and not to do marches, not to participate, even if you saw one. But then at the bar, at the old Irish pub, there was a police presence. And again, they were very friendly. They handled us as a crowd really well. And then I think there was some discussions between the Huuhkajat guys and the cops. And we were just going to walk up to the stadium. And I think, if you can think of a better way to get what was by then, 2,000, 3,000 fans, like 1,000 fans from here to the stadium in a peaceful manner, let us know. And Copenhagen being what it is, there was also like a small Denmark team march, which is going like a slightly different route. And then this, Christiania?
Mm-hmm.
Christiania. So the hippies also had a march about peace and love.
Okay.
So there were supposed to be no marches, but there were 3 like almost simultaneous marches going at the same time. As we walked down, it was just a carnival atmosphere. We were happy. Everybody was honking horns and lots of predictions, lots of fun with the locals. So it was really good.
And you sent us in our FFS WhatsApp group loads of kind of photos and videos of the atmosphere, and we were all going sort of green with envy, I think. And before the match in the stadium, the atmosphere seemed amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think they said it was supposed to be 16,000 out of 25 that was in the stadium, but I mean, it looked on the inside, it looked wall to wall packed. Like it looked really jammed. I mean, at least the end where we were, fans, that was packed, and there were Finnish fans to the right and to the left, about a third of the way down the stadium. So we had a good presence, and I mean, even the opening ceremony actually had some sort of emotional impact, which is usual for these types of games. But yeah, we were in good spirits. Everybody was in good form, and we were in good voice.
And then I guess, you know, as I said before, we talked through the game itself, but what was your overall impression of the game from sort of high up behind the goal?
Well, first opening of the game, we struggled. The Danish press, counter press was really strong. They shut down Kamara, I think, quite easily. And when they had the ball, the movement of, I think it was Vind, Eriksen, Braithwaite, and Poulsen was almost, we had the likes of Sparv and Lud were defensively, like, they lost their men, 2 or 3 times, and they got in behind us a couple of times. I think if it wasn't for some, competent goalkeeping from Verdetsky, we'd have been in trouble early doors.
I don't know if you saw the half-time stat, but at that stage, anyway, Tim Sparv had covered the most ground, at least of all of the Finns, and maybe of the whole. I think there was one Danish player who covered more ground.
Yeah, that's probably right. So what he was basically tasked with was shutting off the middle of the pitch, so that inroad in between Arayuki and Toivio Oroshonason. So he was supposed to jump, and every time that the Danes got through, it was generally down the flanks and down the sides. So I think he did an effective job, at covering ground and closing avenues for attack for the Danes.
And then of course there was the incident where Christian Eriksen collapsed and needed that urgent medical treatment, and it was horrific watching it on TV, especially when we didn't see what happened at the time, but in the pubs that we got sort of on Arena, I think it was, and skipped back and saw it and realized that he was on his own, and that makes it even worse when you realize it's not an injury. This is worse. How was that? Just talk about the feelings among the fans in the stadium. What was going on?
We knew that this, like, particularly, so it was in this bottom right hand corner, where it's right next to where we were, all the fans. Throw-in came, and I think he conked out, like, the ball hit him mid-flight as he was on his way down. And so I think the first kind of question I thought is, has somebody thrown something? But I mean, partly given the atmosphere of the day, we knew that that's not really what's going to happen. But as he hit the deck, like, he was unresponsive. Like, he was out before he hit the floor. And everybody in the stand we were up, and we knew that something serious was going on. I think it was Simon Kjær, the Danish centre back. He came over. I think Pohjanpalo was around. Immediately they went to the ref. The ref went to the physios. The physios went to the medics. And I mean, it's quite a strange one, because I think the whole ordeal took something like an hour and a half, but it felt both like an eternity, a couple of minutes.
Yeah,
because it was like everything just sort of slowed down. But we were all basically stunned in silence for about 10-15 minutes while different waves of medical staff arrived to try and treat him. And then after that, after the Danish boys formed the guards and the medical staff were working on him, they did CPR, they put the pads on him. And then I think there were 1 or 2 sort of little signs that he was going to be okay. But I mean, it was a strange one. Whenever there was a little sign that he'd be okay, parts of the crowd would sort of cheer a little bit. But then the rest of us would just sort of say, well, let's not get ahead of ourselves, and let's calm it down. It sort of went back to this sort of strange, somber fear. I think after about maybe 20 minutes or so, he was taken off the pitch, and then we were sort of told to stay in situ in the stadium, and we all just, at that point, we all just assumed there's no way this is going to continue. Like, this is too heavy a thing. But the crowd, I mean, that's when we started singing. Once he was kind of off the pitch, then we started singing with the Danes, Eriksen's name.
It was beautiful. You sent that video to us, and this big boom of Christian coming from the Finns, and then the return of Eriksen coming from the Danish supporters. That was quite special, I think.
Yeah, and after the game, I had a dozen Danish fans come up to us with an arm on the shoulder crying. Like, that was the most touching thing that they'd seen, and they said the game didn't matter in really showed, what Finnish fans are like, what Finland's all about. It was it was we had a good connection with the Danish fans.
How did it feel when the goal went in? I mean, it's a silly question, but it's a pertinent question as well.
Well, I mean, after all the commotion, when they said Eriksen's been sending messages back to his teammates to play on. Me and my mate, we sort of had that feeling like, I think we're going to win this, because it's like, in a sense, it's classic Finland, where you get the thing that you want, but it's always in that weird way where you don't get to fully enjoy it. And I was like, yeah, we're gonna do it. The goal itself, I mean, we were right there. I've seen a lot of things in the media, like, there's a lot of concentration from Schmeichel. But practically, it's a solid header with a lot of power. It's been hit really low, to a spinning cross, and it had spin on it as well. It wasn't an easy header to stop.
No, it was right. It sort of went through him, but it went like right past his feet, didn't it? I mean, it's not an easy way to adjust your position at that.
Exactly. Yeah, you had to sort of, you had to turn into a curly willy almost, get himself inside out. But so I'm not so sure that there's anything like a lapse of concentration, because he reacted in time. His movement was right for a keeper. It was just an awkward position, and as I said, the header had a fair amount of power on it. So it's, we still cheered. It went in, and we cheered like it was a normal game. We cheered when Lucas saved the penalty, like a normal game, and we cheered at the end. We stayed on to clap the team, and they brought the microphone again, like it was normal. So I think, I don't know. In the stadium, we were rocking, as always. We were full of voice, full of good cheer. I think we had, because of the stoppage, but everybody was about an extra 3 or 4 beers deep. Because it was about 2 hours.
We've discussed this with the others. How are you feeling this morning?
I'm all right. Yeah.
Yeah. Those that are listening are not seeing the pictures. If you want to see how all right he really is, then you can watch the video on YouTube.
I wouldn't pass the smell test. I'll tell you, I've been for a corona test today, and that's also something else that we were corona tested on the way in by the Danish airport staff. We were corona tested now in the city centre to get the certificate to fly out. And it's.
Did they have extra long sticks so they didn't have to stand so close to these Finnish football fans the morning after the night before?
I was saying it's a good job. I mean, it's a good job that or a bonus or a perk for those guys that corona comes with these things.
Yeah,
it covers up the majority of the after smell. But we had a good time. I mean, it was after the match was really strange. I mean, it was that same thing, a mix of. I don't think I've ever. Normally after the match, you stick with your own sort of fans and you dominate a bar and you start chanting and all the rest of it. But this. More than any other time in my life, I can remember this was home fans and away fans, almost arm in arm, singing and drinking and dancing and celebrating.
Awesome. And thanks, Mark. I think we kind of that's brought us almost up to date with you now traveling home. Are you traveling to the other games as well, are you?
The next stop is Russia, but there's a question mark over Russia.
That's why I had a hesitation in my voice. I wasn't sure. What's the deal?
Well, the first one is testing, right? So I need to go through the Fin entry process, and I need two more like clean negative tests before I get permission to travel out. The tests have to be done at least 72 hours. So I've got to wait basically until Wednesday to get the test, and I think the game is Wednesday at like 4 o'clock. So time-wise.
Okay, so that's going to be difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be quite difficult to just squeeze in. And then there's a couple of other concerns that have been raised about crossing the border, about fans, getting in.
Okay.
We were also talking with a couple of lads here who got tickets to the Russian game, and on the fence about either whether they'll make it logistics or if it's worth the trouble. Russian guys that are in. So the plan was on to Russia. It looked really doubtful at the minute, I have to say.
All right, I think Mark over there in a noisy Copenhagen airport.
Sorry for the background.
No worries. It's real life, and we wanted to get something out on the day after the game from wherever everybody was able to talk, and it's good to hear from you. Have a safe journey back home, and I know we'll be in touch soon, but we'll get to the next Finnish football show as soon as we can get ourselves all together on the same call.
Well, I think I just end with saying, get well soon to Christian Eriksen. Thank you very much to the Danish fans and the city of Copenhagen. It's been fantastic hosts. Thank you also to Pohjoiskari and the SMEco and Finnish, because one thing that I can also say is that, we've come here and sort of shown the world that Finnish football is a thing, and that fans here are, reputable and respectable and are good to hang out. So thanks to everybody involved. It's been a great trip. Okay,
and that's it for this episode of the Finnish Football Show. Thanks for listening. Until next time, goodbye. Goodbye, Mark.
Bye-bye.